Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to Live It Live. When we last left off, we completed the modern day wrestling chapter. Today we're going into the near future anime mecha chapter. In the not too distant future lives a boy with the power to read other people's thoughts. His teenage years are troubled, and he gets into many fights. And yet, over his shoulder, silently watches a sleeping giant, the robotic Buriki Daioh. So, many people consider this to be, like, the worst of the chapters. Yeah, sure. Happy enough for now. I don't think it's really... I think it's got to do with a combination of how bad Akira is in battle with how frustrating some of the plot triggers in this chapter can potentially be. But this is actually the first chapter in the game that I ever beat when I sat down and played this game to completion the first time. This is the one I started with. So it actually kind of has a special warped little place in my heart in regards to this game. It's not the first chapter I completed, but it's the first chapter I completed when I finished the game the first time. The first time I played the game, I actually played through Pogo's chapter first. But anyway, Akira is an orphan. We're getting a little flashback sequence here, where we see his dad was gunned down in the line of duty. There is one thing that really, really, really bothers me about this introduction. Super hardcore bothers me. And it's... I'll point it out. And hopefully it'll bother you too. Here it is. This is what bothers me. The child in the middle there at the top next to the blackboard, that's supposed to be Akira. To the left is his sister, and the four kids down there are the other kids of the Chibiko house, the orphanage where Akira stays. None of them get any bigger between this scene and when the game takes place, but Akira does. So, like, we have 5 like immortal children here who never grow up. And, like, this is such an easy fix too. All you would have to do is just use Akira's normal sprite for this introduction. You don't have to use a child sprite for this. You could just say, oh, well, you know, he was like 13, 14 years old. He's still a teenager. But maybe like a year has passed, you know. Enough time for everybody to be relatively the same size. So anyway, the main like gimmick in this chapter is the fact that Akira can read minds by hitting the X button. It's also, I think, one of the weaker gimmicks. So anyway, we're going to do the near chapter future flow. This chapter has some of my favorite music and the entire game in it. This song is really just, it's just soothing. A modern game this chapter reminds me of with the mind reading is Golden Sun. I say modern. Like, when did Golden Sun come out? Like, 15 years ago now? It's like, oh no, I'm old. It's a sad thing when the games of your youth end up being considered retro. That is a terrible pickup line. You should be ashamed of yourself for that pickup line. I'm not following you around, kid. Oh, there's kidnappers, huh? Got a taiyaki stand there. So, Akira is not a strong character. he's not useless. None of the characters are actually that useless, and if you've got some good support, you can use him pretty effectively. However, when you stack him up against the other characters, Akira ends up like strictly on the bottom. Like pretty much everybody does anything Akira can do. There's somebody else in the group that does like 5 times better. Akira is one of the only 2 characters in the main 7 that get a move that can heal other people. Well, Akira's he doesn't have it right now, but it's called Healing Touch, and Healing Touch targets one character in one of the spaces surrounding Akira. Well, Cube, the other character we have left, he has a better healing move that hits everybody around him and can raise stats. So, we'll just finish this off. More Pissed Fist. His attacks have really high, wide ranges. Like, they hit lots of squares, but they're really weak. Even if you max out his IQ, he struggles to do lots of noticeable damage. Comparatively, like, you know, there are other characters that can do way more damage, but if you max out his, you know, as IQ, he does all right. The main problem with Akira, I find, is that his moves only use IQ. He has no other stats that influence any of his other moves. Not even his basic 2 attacks. I forget what they're called right now, but not even his basic 2 attacks are influenced by his power or speed. It's all IQ. I mean, his IQ doesn't influence the power of his 2 basic attacks, but all of his image moves, yeah, they're all IQ based. So this right here is I think probably my favorite track in the entire game. It's called Gogo, Buriki, Daioh, and these are actual lyrics. The gist of it is that Buriki Daioh is from Babylonia, and his goal is to bring down demons, and he will be awoken by a person with a kind heart. I'll try to remember to post the actual lyrics in the video description for this. Interestingly enough, this is the only chapter with a real, like, overworld, like a world map, kind of. Like, several of them have overworlds, but this one has like a actual, like, scaled down world map like you see in a regular JRPG. This is the other chapter I would say is structured more like a traditional RPG, whereas the other one being Pogo's chapter. In fact, this chapter also has kind of sort of a crafting system. It's not like quite like the one in Pogo's chapter where you take 2 items, slam them together and get a 3rd item. In this one, you have you give items to a mad scientist and he upgrades them. So there are a lot of sequence triggers in this game. A lot. So Kenichi is Matsu. And you can interact with a lot of things in this. You can interact with showers, faucets, and if you look over here, you get a shower cap. So Poor Watanabe, ever the universe's whipping boy. This is funny. So, like, every time you examine the TV, they get a different round. So that's kind of funny. Most of the NPCs don't really have anything interesting to say. When you read their minds. But, you know, it's a short enough chapter. That's okay. Akira's tough. So that's one thing about this chapter, is they absolutely throw healing items at you. In addition to the fact that... Ooh, that was a critical blow. In addition to the fact that Akira can heal himself and others, they just throw healing items at you. So now that we've seen that whole scene, we can talk to... In case you didn't catch it, reading her mind is the sequence trigger there. And this is the world map. There are gang members on it. Touching an enemy gets you into a battle. And if you... The battles in this chapter are basically structured like this. You end up fighting a one gang member and several robots that the gang member is controlling. If you kill the gang member, the robots break down. But you end up forfeiting any rewards that you would get for killing those robots. It doesn't count. You don't get any experience, you don't get any item drops. The Crusaders themselves don't drop a whole lot of good things. There's a few things you can get from the Crusaders that are worthwhile. Specifically, you can get, I think they're called abnormal pearls, and you can get Molotovs. Molotov. The reason those two items are good is because what I was talking about earlier, the upgrade system. You can upgrade both of them into good things. The power parts are not for Akira. The old man's not here. So to advance the plot, you have to mind read the bathroom door here. I will say that it took me an abnormal amount of time to think to do this the first time I played the game. Well, the first time I played Akira's chapter. So... We're not going to even point out the fact that he's got his hands behind his back, therefore he's not washing them right now. So... we want you to save a turtle. I love how dramatic he is about this. It's just a turtle. Like, I like the Ninja Turtles as much as the next guy, but come on, man. I feel like there was another Square game that started out like this. Oh well, hopefully we won't end up in 600 AD. I haven't played Chrono Trigger in a while. Like a really long time. So I didn't play Chrono Trigger back on the Super Nintendo. I didn't even know Chrono Trigger existed. The first time I heard about Chrono Trigger was when I played Chrono Cross, and I read, oh yeah, no, this is a reference to this other game, Chrono Trigger. So I played Chrono Trigger the first time on the PlayStation 1 version. And I've heard, oh, fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks is a word that we don't use enough as a nation. So you have to do your part to bring back the fiddlesticks. So that's nice. Oh, one thing I haven't pointed out: if you run from a battle, Akira's run command is teleport. If you teleport from a battle, you end up in a random spot. Like you can end up in the bathroom in the Chibico house, as an example. It's very annoying. That's probably another reason why people don't like this chapter, because you can't really run away. The enemies on the world map, you will actually gain a level every 3 battles until you hit about level 13. So I actually don't want to bother with these lariats, so I'll just kill the... not by myself. I don't know if that number gets thrown off if you break down the enemies versus killing them all. But I do know that if you're going to level, the point of diminishing returns is level 13 in this chapter. You may notice that I got upgrade parts from a couple of those battles. We're about to find the use for those. Ugh. I really need to get a new chair. Fluid androids are weird. The basic idea behind fluid androids is that sorry, I got distracted. The basic idea behind fluid androids is that you liquefy somebody down to liquid and put them in an android, and being liquefied raises their spiritual power up to the point where they can move a robot. So anyway, come back here. If you read Taro's mind, he actually joins your party. So now we have our first party member. And power parts. Robots in this game are... Taro is not the only robot. The other robot is the main character of the sci-fi chapter. Robots have fixed stats, fixed levels. I don't think Taro has a whole lot of IQ. Yeah, no, because he's a turtle. But he is beefy, man. Look at that vit and strength. Vit and power. So, what power parts do is they raise the robot's hit points up, because they can't gain levels. They can't gain levels, they don't learn skills. But what you can do is you can use power parts to raise their max hit points, and obviously you can put equipment on them to raise their stats. And in addition to that, there are special accessories that teach the robots new moves. Science is spectacular. We did it! So, if you want to level up Akira for the final chapter, now is probably the best time to do that. Well, actually, no, not right now, but I would wait just a few minutes, because here in after the next little sequence, we're going to get the ability to trying to remember how to get her to. Oh, you know what? I think you have to give the kids the taiyaki. Is that true? No. There's a. There's a way to get some free equipment here, and I'm trying to remember what it is.